Oh, hold please. I'm trying to manage 2 platforms right now at the same time. Okay. YT. Hello. Can you guys see me and hear me? TT. Can you see me and hear me? I know I'm lagging and it might be because I'm streaming both. So, hmm. I might have to end one of the platforms. Can you guys hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Yes, yes, babes. Okay, I'm lagging on one platform and not the other one. So, let me give it a minute to get fixed. If not, I'll cancel the other platform, the live. And we'll continue here. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am streaming on a different platform, TikTok, and so oh, I see what you're saying. Am I lagging on YT or are we good? It's good? Yes, you're all good. I'm watching on both. No lag here. Evie, is it good over here? Hello, hello. I haven't been live for 2 days. I know, I know, I know. I missed you guys. I missed my bablets. Hello. I do got my buzz ball. You're good? I'm good. Okay, okay. I have not been live for 2 days. I did miss you guys. I was working on something with AI. Yes, yes. I know. AI is taking over the world, so I figured hold please. Okay. I'm hearing an echo on my end. Okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to end on hold please. Um, okay. Thank you. I just got it figured out. Are we frozen or is it just me? Is that better? Is that better now? Ugh, I was trying to double stream, but it's you what YouTube's not giving me a problem, but the other platform was. Sounds fine. It's good. Okay, all good. Yeah. So, okay. It seems to be. That sucks. Okay, I have to look into what was going on. But anyways, I went to AI and technologies. Just refresh if the video is frozen. It shouldn't be now. Um, it's good. Yeah. Okay. What I did is I took the hello, we're gonna be talking about sorry, I'm like all over the place because I was trying to double stream, but I'll figure it out. No worries. I took the we're gonna be talking about Mackenzie Shirilla. I took the 2020 her 2024 appeal and the juvenile bindover transcripts. Yeah, um, it was like messing up my stuff, Nisi. I have to figure it out. You guys can stream it though. I see, let's see, let me say hello to everyone and we'll get into it. So I wanted to compare and see what is the discrepancies, what are the discrepancies between these two documents. Very interesting. I have a lot of pages, but I'll get through what I can today. I see Debbie in here. Evie, hello, hello. Court Lurker, Laura, are you Barbie? Christine, Meow, Jerry, thank you for the super only one Belinda. I appreciate you. Shout out to Mods. Hello, hello. Oh, thank you, Belinda. So, okay, I see what you're saying. Thank you. Let me try that. We're gonna next time. Yeah, I think I figured it out actually. Oh wait. I'll have to figure it out later. But oh, I haven't watched it, Jen. Yeah, Lacey, I couldn't figure it out. Do I need to go back to TD? No, you can stay here. Yeah. Hello. Okay, good. Good to see everyone. I see people dropping in here. So we're gonna go through volume one, volume two, volume three, because that's kind of how I read the transcripts. Basically, this is just like discrepancy reports of the things that don't match between the appeal and the bind over. So this report compares only two supplied documents, one on March 2nd, 2023, the probable cause hearing transcript, volume one and three, and two, one through three, and two, the September 26, 2024 appellate opinion affirming the convictions. This volume contains a testimony of Captain Brett Stanislaw, Dr. Esther Sang, Sergeant Adam McQuain, Trooper Elliot Rawson, plus opening statements. The appellate opinion also summarizes evidence from later bind-over volumes and the adult bench trial. These portions can, I'm not going to read that part to you. Um, Findings are classified as clear discrepancy, direct conflict, or mistaken identity. Material characterization, technically based on the record but overstated, incomplete, or phrased more conclusively, and significant omission slash context shift or minor wording rounding difference. So it's just going to basically tell us the mistakes. We will stream for you, girl. Thank you, girl. Let me pull up the document. It's interesting. There's just little mistakes. That I wanted to make sure we noted on the Mackenzie Shirilla case. Um, we've talked about how I feel about the trial and the investigation. That doesn't mean that I think she's innocent and should walk free right now. Um, but I think um, the charges were a bit much, but with Schmurder. Um, Although 2 boys did lose their lives, but I don't know, I'm uncomfortable with the conflicts of interest, and I'm not here to, like, bag on anyone, um, but I just wanna go through these, mistakes here or discrepancies. So, here is this, part. We're gonna start with detailed findings. These are just little things, mistakes that were made. So, the first one is witness surname. One of the witnesses was Hench, goes by Christopher Hench, and then versus Christopher Martin. The classification is clear discrepancy, which is high. The prosecutor's volume one opening identifies the interstate pickup witness as Christopher Hench. The appellate opinion identifies the witness who later testified as Christopher Martins. These are two different last names, not a spelling variant. This may reflect an opening statement mistake, a transcript error, or a use of a different name. The documents themselves do not resolve it. Two, vehicle model, 2018 Toyota Corolla versus Toyota Camry. So the classification is clear discrepancy, which means that the bindover opening statements called the crash vehicle a 2018 Toyota Corolla. Throughout the evidentiary testimony in the appellate opinion, the vehicle is identified as Toyota Camry. Volume 1 later confirms a 2018 Toyota Camry. 3, threat word changed. The opening states, "I'll crash this car right now." The appellate opinion quotes, "I'm going to wreck this car right now." The meaning is similar, but the opinion presents a different quotation. Because quotation marks suggest exact language, the change should be noted. And you can let me know what you guys think as I'm reading through this. As long as we remain respectful, we don't have to agree on everything, but we will respect each other. Let's see. Number 4. So ruled out seizure slash stroke is stronger than the paramedic testimony. The appellate factual summary says that the normal pulse, motor, and sensation, quote, ruled out a stroke, seizure, or other significant neurological emergency. And volume one, Stanislaw said that there was no apparent seizure activity during his limited assessment, but expressly acknowledged that a seizure could have occurred before the EMS arrived and leave no signs during his evaluation. The appellate wording may overstate what the field exam could exclude. Thank you, Michelle. 5, the opinions, no medical evidence. Conclusion, compresses contrary concessions. This is classification is material characterization and it is in the high level. In its Bindover analysis, the appellate court states that there was no medical evidence of an adverse medical event causing the crash. Volume 1 contains concession of the Bindover contains concessions that a seizure or mini stroke could occur and resolve before examination, and that the paramedics' assessment was only a snapshot after the crash. The record did not affirmatively prove a medical event, but it also did not medically eliminate every transient event. Interesting. Interesting is interesting, interesting. Number 6, blood oxygen reading presented without equal emphasis on later normal value. The opinion accurately reports an EMS oxygen saturation of 82 and describes it as extremely low. Volume 1 also records a later hospital oxygen saturation of 98 and testimony that a bad probe position, cold fingers, motion, poor perfusion, or equipment issues can produce an unreliable low reading. The opinion mentions some possible measurements problems in its general summary, but does not give the later 98 reading comparable weight in its Bindover conclusion. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Number 7, quote, she never took her foot off the accelerator is an inference, not a direct EDR measurement. Ah, interesting. The opinion repeatedly states that Shirilla never took her foot off the accelerator. The event data recorder measures accelerator pedal position and throttle values. It does not identify whose foot was on the pedal or directly observes a foot. The fair technical statement is that the accelerator pedal signal remained at 100% during the recorded pre-impact interval. I just put the chat up on the screen. Sorry, I had forgot. Number 8, duration rounded from 4.6 seconds to at least 5 seconds in opening. Classification, minor wording, rounding difference. The prosecutor's opening promised an evidence of 100% acceleration for, quote, at least the last 5 seconds. McQuaid's actual EDR testimony and the appellate opinion use 4.6 seconds. This is a 0.4 second difference and likely rhetorical sounding, but it is not exact. All of these things should match up. Hey, Joe looking. 9, throttle description omits the airborne related change. The appellate opinion says that the accelerator pedal was fully depressed 4.6 seconds before impact and that the engine throttle was 100% until 1.6 seconds before impact when the vehicle became airborne. That part, the airborne, we've already talked about this before. If the car did go airborne, would she be able to control it? I know many of you guys feel Kenzie is 100% guilty. You don't like her. You think she's a bully. We know, right? We've read the text messages here many times. I'm here to question what the court has done. That doesn't mean that just because I'm questioning it, she's going to get out. And that doesn't mean that I don't care for the victims. There's many different things going on here at once, and we need to learn to separate all of them respectfully. I know you guys hate when I say that. These are great catches. Thank you, Boo Boo. So, okay, I read that. The phrases can, oh, wait. So the vehicle becomes airborne. Later, shorthand description says 100% acceleration through the event. Those phrases can blur the distinction between pedal input and actual throttle behavior. Number 10, speed described as approximately 100 miles per hour rather than the measured segment averages. Rawson's analysis, and that's the guy that was on the documentary where he shows like the video of the crash. Rawson's analysis gave specific averages near 97.21, 97.83, 97.48, 98.19 miles per hour, depending on the segment and method. The opinion rounds this to approximately 100 miles per hour. The rounding is reasonable, but it should not be mistaken for a direct 100-mile-per-hour measurement at impact. Hmm. The car went airborne because it hit the curb and jumped it because it was floored. Boo Boo says it went airborne because there's a huge dip in the road that apparently people have complained about for decades. Interesting. Um, let's continue. 11. Life 360, 90 miles per hour, and reconstruction speeds are different data sources. Classification, significant context issue, and it falls under the medium category. The appellate opinion separately reports Life 360 as recording 90 miles per hour and expert video analysis near 100 miles per hour. These figures are not necessarily conflicting because they come from different devices, intervals, and methods. A reader could incorrectly treat them as interchangeable measurements unless a distinction is maintained. Number 12, opening statements, allegations are not evidence. Several details in volume 1 of the Bindover appear only in the prosecutor's opening statement, including, quote, Christopher Hench, the cool to touch vehicle, the estimated 45-minute delay, and broad claims that investigators eliminated every other explanation. The appellate opinion relies on testimony and trial evidence, not merely the opening. Any comparison must avoid treating opening assertions as sworn proof. And there is the sources here, so people can see that it's coming from the documents. Again, we're reviewing the juvenile Bindover transcripts and the 2024 appeal that Mackenzie, that her team submitted. They fixed the road, but was on it last week and it was still bumpy. I'm shocked they actually filed in that section of the road. Our roads all around here are always a mess. Recent sub MS caused 2 unalivings. I don't agree. Malice was proven without a shadow of a doubt. Dom's mom's interview has been the most enlightening receipt to open foul play to me. Thank you. And that doesn't mean I hate her or have any hate towards her. It just means that that interview is questionable. And I think there is a conflict of interest. And I shouldn't be bullied for that or trashed for that. Because as you guys know, just because I think there was mistakes in her trial or in the investigation, people have been assuming that I am just for Kenzie, 100% for Kenzie. And no, that's not the case. Even if she wants a new trial and the consequence is worse, then that's her prerogative. I've said that many times. Um, is the sound good? Robin, maybe refresh. They knew how to hit each other's triggers, a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Yeah, is the sound good? Anyone? Anthony, he's one of the only ones I believe that have receipts to back up everything they say. Yeah, I know. Calling it a Corolla, like they couldn't even get that right. It's weird. 13, appellate motive summary omits evidence of calm interaction immediately before departure. Classification is significant omission / context shift, falls under the medium category. The appellate bindover analysis emphasizes evidence that Russo was considering ending the relationship in the earlier highway incident. It acknowledges that there was no evidence Shirilla was angry or upset immediately before the crash, but its ultimate summary gives little weight to evidence that the group appeared calm and that no fighting was observed at the final gathering. Thank you, Juvenated. 14, appellate opinion merges bindover and trial narratives in a way that can confuse source attribution. This is a significant structural issue. The opinion first gives a broad factual history dominated by the adult trial testimony, and then later says, quote, as detailed above, end quote, when deciding the juvenile probable cause issue. Because some witnesses and exhibits summarized above were trial evidence rather than the volume 1 bindover evidence, readers must carefully separate which evidence was actually before the juvenile court. That source can be found in the appeal. 3 findings that should not be overstated. The appellate court was not required to reproduce every line of testimony. Ordinary omissions are not automatically discrepancies or reversible error. Approximately 100 miles per hour is a reasonable rounded description of measurements in the upper 90s, though it is less precise. The 90 miles per hour Life 360 figure and the 97 to 98 miles per hour reconstruction estimates can both be accurate because they measure different things. The witness name and vehicle model conflicts may originate in the prosecutor's opening statement or transcription rather than sworn in testimony. This report does not determine whether any discrepancy would satisfy the legal standards for reconsideration, post-conviction, ineffective counsel, or reversal. 4 priority issues for further review. Obtain binder ones. Okay, so we're going to go over those next. Compare the official audio with a transcript of Hench, Shirilla/Camry in the exact threat language. So this is what we're going to go through on the next document. Conclusion. The 2 strongest direct errors in the supplied documents are the Christopher Hench/Martin surname conflict and the Corolla Camry vehicle model conflict. The more consequential analytical concerns are the appellate's opinion, categorical medical phrasing, and that its conversion of EDR pedal position data in the human action statement that Shirilla, quote, never took her foot off the accelerator. Those statements are not wholly unsupported, but they are more definitive than the underlying volume 1 testimony. Let's go to, we're still on volume 1 of the Bindover, but I have a different, let me go to my other section of notes. Hold, please. Please hit the like button too. Okay, here we go. I separated them. Sorry. Give me 1 sec. Okay. The most important points is that the appeal opinion summarizes both. Wait, is that what you guys were seeing? Sorry. Yeah. I have so many windows open. 1, evidence from the juvenile bindover hearing, and 2, additional evidence presented later at the adult trial. The appellate court acknowledges that it did not separately repeat all bindover evidence. Accordingly, some differences are genuine overstatements or missing qualifications. So again, we talked about number 1, which was a Toyota Corolla versus Toyota Camry. During the prosecutor's opening statements, the vehicle is called a 2018 Toyota Corolla. Elsewhere in the transcript, including the expert testimony, the vehicle is identified as a 2018 Toyota Camry. How do they make that mistake? Hey, Legally, good to see you. And why was mom able to refuse? This is a comment. And why was mom able to refuse to hand over texts and communications? Surely the state could have subpoenaed them to show a full picture. Big question is, why didn't Mackenzie's attorney subpoena that? Exactly. Let's continue. The appeal states the appellate opinion consistently identifies the vehicle as a Toyota Camry. This is a direct naming discrepancy, but almost certainly a verbal mistake in the prosecutor's opening statements. Opening statements are not evidence. Medical evidence. Kenzie's 2024 appeal states, alert and oriented versus not fully alert or oriented at the scene. The appeal states the opinion says the hospital examination found that Mackenzie was alert and oriented, breathing and circulating normally, neurologically normal, and without documented memory loss, disorientation, or inattention. In the bindover, Captain Stanislaw described a materially different condition during the earlier EMS assessment, that Shirilla's eyes were not actively open. She was assigned a verbal response rather than alert. She opened her eyes when verbally prompted. She did not know what had occurred, and she was not oriented to the event, and her responses were delayed. Stanislaw explained that she was not assigned an, quote, alert score because she was not freely opening her eyes and interacting. The finding is this is not necessarily a direct medical contradiction because the assessments occurred at different times. It is, however, a material chronology omission. The appeals alert and oriented language reflects the later hospital condition, not her initial condition during extrication and EMS treatment. Number 3, neurologically, quote, normal is broader in the appeal than the actual testimony. The appeal states, the opinion says medical experts could find no evidence that Shirilla had a neurological or muscular condition that could have contributed to the crash. But the Bindover states that Stanislaw explained that all normal, which meant she could move and feel her extremities. There was no one sided weakness. There was no posturing. There was no slurred speech. And there was no seizure activity occurring during his examination. It did not establish that no neurological event had occurred before EMS arrived. The finding is that appeal turns a limited moment in time neurological assessment into a broader statement about whether a medical condition contributed to the crash. That is an overstatement of the testimony's scope. Interesting. She deserved a fair trial and investigation. The fact that they weren't included because they were in his mom's law firm name is even more suspect. There are probably mistakes, but I have no doubt she was headed to prison. I think prison has saved her life. They may have thought they were already included because why wouldn't they have been, right? Wouldn't they be normally included in any other case on the planet? Yes. Let's continue. Number 4, no seizure activity observed versus no earlier seizure. Stanislaw in the Bindover established only that he saw no activity seizure during his assessment. His neurological findings concerned Shirilla's condition when he examined her. The appellate opinion itself acknowledges Dr. Singh's concession that a person could have suffered a seizure or mini stroke and recovered before the hospital evaluation. The opinion nevertheless reasons that the medical emergency explanation was unreasonable because the later examination was normal. That is very interesting. The discrepancy is between, quote, no seizure was visible during examination and a strong practical conclusion that no seizure caused the crash. The transcript did not medically eliminate an earlier transient seizure. That's interesting. The medical emergency explanation was unreasonable because the later examination was normal. Number 5, the appeal minimizes the time gap between the crash and the hospital evaluation. The appeal opinion acknowledges that hospital personnel evaluated Shirilla approximately 2 hours after the reported crash and that a seizure or mini stroke would resolve within that period. The Bindover transcript, the juvenile Bindover, EMS did not make patient contact until approximately 6:48 a.m. after delays caused by entrapment and extrication. The finding is that the opinion mentions a 2-hour delay, but later reveals heavily upon the normal hospital findings. It gives less analytical weight to the fact that the crash occurred substantially earlier, the EMS assessment did not begin immediately, and the hospital assessment occurred later still. This is material omission in the appellate reasoning, not a factual error. Oxygen saturation of 82. In the Bindover, the EMS record showed an oxygen saturation of 82. The appellate summary acknowledges that 82 is abnormally low. We have talked about this many, many times. Many, many times. How do you know there was no remorse, Anthony? We've heard about remorse in the documents. I don't understand. Just because you don't hear her crying about it in phone calls that are 4 years old doesn't mean there was no remorse. She admitted in a call with her mom, she did say she's in the hospital, but I still feel it was intentional. What if it actually was a car accident? Those happen often. Sometimes people don't remember what happened because of the trauma. Hmm. Everybody does deserve a fair trial. Plus, to mention all the text messages she wrote to Miss Russo. Let's continue. The record also reflects that Shirilla was not fully oriented and responding only after verbal prompting. The appeal states that the opinion mentions the oxygen reading but does not treat it as affirmative evidence of possible acute medical problem. Instead, the medical discussion largely emphasizes normal heart rhythm, normal later neurological findings, and the possibility that the oxygen reading was inaccurate. The finding is that there is a difference in evidentiary emphasis. The appeal does not falsify the oxygen reading, but it gives greater weight to benign explanations and does not connect the reading to the contemporaneous confusion and reduced responsiveness. Number 7, the Potts characterization is narrower than the testimony allowed. Like, people do change. I just wanna say that, like, I sound like a broken record, but, like, if y'all wanna sit in a chat and, in the viewing and say, "Oh, I people can't change." Some people don't want to change, and some people do change, and let's keep in mind that all the calls and text messages are just one part of this whole picture. Like, we weren't there in the relationship, nobody else was. Big sister unhinged never saw them fight. Family members really didn't see them fight. Friends also didn't see them fight. We've heard that from numerous people. And yes, she was toxic. We get it. Y'all don't like the text messages. I don't like them either. But that's just one side of their relationship. Really, truly. Um, Not that I'm saying it's okay, but those phone calls from 4 years ago are 4 years ago. And who knows what she's like now, and we're not getting the prison phone calls, just so you know. Um, they're not releasable. If they looked at my text, I would be arrested. Yeah, I would be arrested right now, literally on this live. Yeah. We will never know the truth. I just know what I think it is, what it is. Don't get upset if someone has a different mindset than me. Yeah, no, no one's upset. Let's continue. So the Potts characterization is narrower than testimony allowed. The appeal states that the opinion primarily describes Pot as a condition that can cause an unusually elevated heart rate. It separately acknowledges that POTS may cause dizziness or headache. In the juvenile Bindover transcripts, Dr. Singh did not diagnose POTS episode as the crash's cause, but the testimony did not categorically eliminate an episode before the examination. Thank you. Thank you. Robin says, I used to jump out my bedroom window every night and go party with my friends. If I told you that we did that many times, and my dad would come looking for us in the car. I know. It was wild. If I told you guys some of my stories, you would probably say, arrest Melly now. Arrest her criminal ass. And it's just the truth. Lexus uses the same engine as a Toyota. Let's be honest now. They both were toxic to each other. Trust me, you don't want to read mine either, if that's the truth. Yeah. And like, if I committed a crime now, hypothetically, say I committed a crime now, today, and they go back 4 years on my text messages and like they're going to use those against me. This is actually what we're seeing in the Courtney Clenny trial. They're bringing up her fights with Christian Abumseli, the OnlyFans model that STABBED with a knife, her boyfriend, and now her defense. We have gone over this in a Courtney Clenny live, so definitely go check out my playlist. And now her defense has been fighting to present character evidence of the boyfriend. And that has opened our eyes, right? We read the document. Christian allegedly unalived a dog and amongst other things. So when talking about we're going to include the character part of it all, I don't know how I feel about that because I just don't think someone should be charged. I know I get it at the time, it was in real time, but if I'm just speaking about if it was me now. They can read text right now. 30 years ago, I would never be caught texting the person I love the most in the world. Like those texts, you need to reread those. She was just vile. If we're honest with ourselves, we know we have things that could be misconstrued in our text. Yeah. Like if I said to my bestie, oh my God, LOL, if you do that, I'm going to unalive you. Like that's an example. You know what I'm saying? Nowhere in the car, we don't have evidence of Kenzie in the car that day of the crash saying that she wanted to unalive him. You know what? I wanted to look up actually hearsay definition. In legal context, hearsay is an out of court statement repeated in court to prove that the statement is true. Because the original speaker isn't in court under oath and cannot be cross examined, the secondhand information is generally considered unreliable and inadmissible as evidence. The whole, oh, she wanted to crash the car. Okay, we believed that because of the text, but Dom wasn't, they were both toxic. They had both done things like this to each other. I mean, we are gonna probably restart the text messages over because I wanna go in and pick a lot of things that I think we've missed, and it's been a while. Um, do you think the trial's starting early? No, I don't think so. If you're talking about Clinny. Let's continue. Dr. Singh did not diagnose Potts evidence. Okay, I already said that. So the testimony did not categorically eliminate an episode occurring before the examination. The finding is that the appeals description is technically accurate but incomplete. It initially presents Potts mainly as elevated heart rate, which understates the defense theory concerning dizziness, altered consciousness, or a transient event. Driver's license answers are used as medical evidence. The opinion relies on BMV applications in which Shirilla denied having a condition causing episodic impairment of consciousness or loss of muscular control. It uses those answers to make the medical event explanation seem unreasonable. In the juvenile bindover, the BMV investigator did not testify. The evidence was presented later at trial, which we are going to be going over those documents, probably tomorrow. The finding is this is later trial evidence, not evidence from the bindover. Interesting. The opinion's medical rejection cannot be attributed solely to the bindover medical testimony because the court also relied on subsequently introduced BMV evidence. The EDR and accelerator. The EDR pedal positions becomes her, quote, her foot never left the accelerator, end quote. In the bindover, McQuaid testified that the EDR recorded the accelerator pedal position, brake status, steering angle, vehicle speed, and crash forces. The computer showed the accelerator fully depressed during the recorded interval. The EDR itself did not identify the body part or person responsible for maintaining the pedal position. In the appeal, the opinion repeatedly states that Shirilla never took her foot off the accelerator. The finding is that this is an inference presented as a physical fact. The EDR proved the pedal remained at maximum input. The statement that it was specifically Shirilla's foot throughout the interval depended on separate circumstantial evidence, including later mechanical testimony concerning the slipper. 10. The slipper evidence did not come from the juvenile bindover. In the appeal, the opinion says mechanical expert Mark Sargent concluded that the driver's foot was on the accelerator at impact and that the slipper could not have trapped in a manner that caused unintended acceleration. In the bindover, Sargent did not testify in the bindover. And I'm just curious, why did all these people not testify? I don't get it. And I'm not a lawyer, so don't come for me saying that I don't know what I'm talking about because that's not right. Um, I just free Mackenzie. She's a baddie, says Nick Macias. Oh, wow. Green Green Eye, and they keep selling them, which is terrifying. I wish the parents did parenting and made them split. I know, and that's been a problem too. You know, people are like, "Oh, you're dogging the family, blah blah blah." No, but if you're gonna judge the Shirillas that hard, judge everyone across the board. I still have quite a few police reports that we're gonna go into that people might not be too happy about, but it's public information. Talk to President Lyndon B. Johnson about it. Okay. Let me look that up actually. Oh, but wait, you can't talk to him because Lyndon B. Johnson, who was involved, I think, with the Freedom of Information Act, passed away, unfortunately, on January 22nd, 1973. So sad. Let's continue. So, Sargent did not testify in the juvenile bindover. Hmm. The finding is that this is not a contradiction, but it is evidence outside the bindover, used to strengthen an inference drawn from the volume from the bindover EDR evidence. The report identifies 14 reportable differences separated into clear factual conflicts, material characterizations, contextual omissions, and minor wording or rounding differences. The two clearest discrepancies are the last name with Hench and the 2018 Toyota Corolla versus Toyota Camry. The report also flags the appellate's opinion stronger characterization that medical findings ruled out a seizure or stroke, and its conversion of the EDR pedal position data into the statement that Mackenzie never took her foot off the accelerator. Again, I'll repeat, at the end of the day, we were not in the car. And if you were the person in the trunk, please let me know so you can come up here and we can do a live together. Thank you for the gifts. I still am like learning about those, but whatever. I appreciate it. I don't understand. Um, her lawyer called none. I'm just reading your comments. She also had several road rage incidents, different situations where the cops were involved in all of those incidents, and it was, of course, never her fault, always a conspiracy against her. It's hard to diagnose a seizure for sure unless it happens under medical observation or while having an EEG or other recording device. Basically, they cannot rule out the possibility that she had one. Thank you. When I was a teenager, my parents could not make me break up with anybody. I would just sneak. Dude, you couldn't tell me nothing at 18. Nothing. Seriously. Okay. Volume 2 discrepancies. One sec. Let me pull it up. You couldn't tell me shit. Okay. Okay, so we're comparing the State versus Shirilla 2024 Ohio appellate opinion and the juvenile probable cause bindover transcript. So the appellate opinion is not merely a summary of the bindover hearing. It also discusses evidence introduced later at Mackenzie Shirilla's adult bench trial. Therefore, some differences are not necessarily court errors and may reflect testimony or exhibits introduced at trial that did not appear in this bindover. So, who moved the transmissions back into drive? Number one. Bindover transcript states the bindover evidence established that the transmission moved among different settings, but the testimony did not identify who moved it. The vehicle contained 3 occupants, and the expert acknowledged that he was not present and could not determine who performed particular physical actions inside the car. So, we don't know who did that. We all just have assumptions and opinions, right? And we also don't know what happened in the car. Who said I was grifting? No one's trying to grift either, not here. Melly has covered this before any documentary at all, before it was viral, just to be very clear. It is very true. I started covering this in late 2024. So I didn't just come up here opening my mouth and covering this case as soon as the Netflix documentary dropped when everyone became aware of this crash. I've been covering it a lot. So when we want to talk about grifters, definitely not the one, respectfully. The appellate opinion says that someone moved the gear shift into neutral, but it was then forced back into drive. Elsewhere, the court describes this as evidence that Shirilla was simultaneously manipulating the gear shift while keeping her foot on the accelerator. The discrepancy is that the opinion moves from an unidentified person performing the shifting to an inference that Shirilla intentionally manipulated it. The first statement is supported more cautiously. The second assigns the act to her without direct identification. Again, No one saw it. No one was there. How do you know there was no remorse? Everyone keeps saying that. Like, were y'all there? Were y'all there every day of the hospital? I don't get it. Every day for 3 months until she got arrested. Were y'all there? Were y'all hanging out with Kenzie? I'm just curious. Let's continue. The appeal acknowledges that someone inside the vehicle shifted the transmission, but in rejecting a medical event explanation, it describes Shirilla as intentionally manipulating the gear shift while allegedly unable to brake or release the accelerator. Why does this matter? The identity and purpose of the person shifting the transmission are relevant to whether a passenger was trying to stop the car, whether someone was struggling over control, whether the transmission movement proves Sharilla's consciousness or intent, and whether the shift into drive was deliberate, accidental, or caused by another occupant. And we don't know any of that. Material inferential overstatement. Number 2, forced back into drive versus manually shifted. The Bindover transcript, the testimony concerned manual movement among drive, sequential mode, and neutral. The evidence reflected transmission position changes, but did not establish the mental purpose behind them. The appellate opinion is that the appellate court says the gear shift was forced back into drive as the vehicle continued hurtling forward. The discrepancy is the word force. It adds a sense of deliberate resistance or purposeful counteraction that is stronger than merely saying the transmission was manually moved. 2, force back into drive versus, oh wait, I just read that. My bad. Wait. So the appellate opinion itself notes that the data showed movement between drive, sequential, and neutral, and that the gear shift had to be manually moved. Why does this matter? Moved back into drive is a neutral mechanical description. Forced back into drive suggests that someone intentionally defeated another occupant's attempt to stop the vehicle. The additional implication is not established merely by transmission data. Classification is potentially prejudicial wording change. The hard right steering movement. In the Bindover, Mark Sargent testified that the right left hard right steering movements could reflect a driver attempting to regain control or the vehicle's stability control system attempting to correct a loss of control. He expressly said he did not know who made the movement or why. In the appeal emphasizes that Shirilla made a controlled turn and continued at full acceleration. It does mention some alternative explanation from Sargent's later testimony, but its ultimate narrative largely treats the car's path as proof of purposeful steering towards the building. The discrepancy or omission is that the appeal minimizes the Bindover's expert qualification that the sharp movements could indicate an effort to regain control rather than intentionally aiming. Yeah, what if Kenzie did try to regain control? I mean, again, we don't know that. What happened there? Who did that? Thank you, Joan of Arc. Appreciate you. In the Bindover, Sargent testified that the movement could mean that the driver was trying to maintain or regain control, or that the vehicle's stability system activated after a loss of control, because we know the airbags deployed before the impact. He also agreed that he did not know who caused the movement or why. Okay, so if they don't know who caused the movement, why do we think we know who caused the movement? We've assumed, based off of our perspective of the text messages and our assumptions, right? But if they don't know, we definitely don't know. In the appeal, The appellate opinion acknowledges that a hard right turn could have resulted from the driver trying to regain control, a passenger pulling the wheel, or a physical reaction after the vehicle landed. Because remember, the vehicle was not, what was the word? Was it hydroplane? Why it matters. The same steering evidence supports several materially different possibilities. One, the intentional targeting. Two, an attempt to regain control. Three, vehicle stability intervention. Four, passenger interference. Five, a reaction after the car became airborne. That's what it was, airborne, not hydroplane. That's the same thing. Exactly. The cars don't show anything wrong, but clearly something was in those instances. Something is wrong. Thank you, Sarah Love. I appreciate you for gifting a membership. Jimmy, welcome to members. Don't think I forgot about the members only. We might do one tomorrow. Yeah, welcome. The appellate court recognized these alternatives, but ultimately framed the path as primarily as intentional. The classification is that material qualification acknowledged but substantially discounted. The passenger interference with the steering wheel. The transcript, the Bindover transcript does not establish that Shirilla alone controlled every steering movement during the final seconds. The expert could not identify who caused a particular movement. I'm uncomfortable with that. If they could not identify, I wouldn't want to be I would question that. I would have a problem with that if my loved one was locked up. The appellate opinion states that a passenger pulling the wheel was a possible explanation, but its central sufficiency analysis describes Shirilla as making the relevant controlled movements. The difference is that the opinion acknowledges passenger interference as possible, but then narratively attributes control to Shirilla without resolving that uncertainty. So maybe Dom did move something, or I don't know. I mean, it says right here, passenger interference is possible. 2024, Kenzie appeal. The appellate opinion specifically reports that the hard right movement could be consistent with the passenger pulling onto the wheel trying to avoid a collision. Why this matters? It matters because Davian Flanagan's final position inside the vehicle and transmission activity may be consistent with movement by an occupant. The Bindover transcript did not conclusively eliminate the possibility that someone else was attempting to intervene. Unresolved uncertainty treated as supporting only one conclusion is the classification. The Bindover In the Bindover, the defense emphasized the oxygen reading and the doctor's testimony concerning its significance during closing argument. The reading, let's continue. No medical evidence of an adverse medical event. In the Bindover, the transcript contained evidence that Shirilla was confused, had delayed responses, had her eyes closed, did not know what happened, and had an oxygen level of 82. The paramedic conceded a seizure could have occurred before responders arrived and leave no observable signs during this later assessment. So we just read that in the other document, right? Like they arrived way later, a little over an hour after the crash. The appellate opinion states that there was no medical evidence that she suffered any adverse medical event that caused the crash. The discrepancy is that the statement is too categorical. The evidence did not prove a medical event caused the crash, but there was medical evidence that supported the possibility of an event or impairment. The Bindover record showed that Sharilla's blood oxygen level was extremely low, that she was confused, and that the paramedic could not exclude a seizure that occurred before the examination. This is huge. Like, if they could not exclude a seizure because they were an hour late to the scene or to like treat her. The appellate opinion itself summarizes some of those concessions, including that a seizure or mini stroke could have resolved before the hospital examination. Nevertheless, the court later states that there was no medical evidence that an adverse medical event caused the crash. The more accurate wording, a narrower and more accurate characterization would have been, quote, a medical personnel did not diagnose a medical event that was proven to have caused the crash. That is different from saying there was no medical evidence at all supporting the evidence. Why does this matter? Because at probable cause, the question was not whether the defense proved a seizure occurred. The medical evidence was relevant because it attacked the state's inference that full acceleration necessarily demonstrated a purposeful decision. And this is classified as the strongest apparent overstatement. Medical examination timing and limitations. Aha. Hi, Shay. Bindover transcript states some medical observations occurred after emergency treatment and in the hospital physician's case, roughly 2 hours after the crash. Witnesses conceded that certain temporary conditions could resolve before examination. The appellate opinion emphasizes that examinations did not reveal a neurological or muscular condition contributing to the crash. The omission is the summary risks presenting later normal findings as proof that no temporary event occurred earlier. The appellate opinion notes that the hospital evaluation occurred approximately 2 hours after the crash and that a seizure or mini stroke could possibly have resolved during that period. If they didn't know and couldn't prove it, how does that make it no, she didn't have a medical episode? I've had some questions this whole time, but still think she's GAF. If any crazy people come for me since I put my name out, I don't condone violence. Kenzie had major significant injuries and was in shock and very low oxygen saturation when found. Yes, she responded, but that doesn't mean she was oriented. Exactly. They say it here. But its sufficiency analysis says medical experts could find no evidence of a neurological or musculature condition contributing to the crash. Why does this matter? A normal examination 2 hours later does not necessarily eliminate a transient seizure, syncope, a temporary cardiac event, loss of consciousness, a hypoxic episode, another brief neurological impairment. It only means the medical personnel did not diagnose one during their examination. This material limitation omitted from the court's conclusion. The blood oxygen level of 82. The paramedic called 82 an extremely low oxygen reading and explained that such a level can appear around cardiac arrest, severe respiratory impairment, or an inaccurate reading. The appellate opinion mentions the level mainly while summarizing cross-examination, but does not meaningfully incorporate it into its later conclusion that the medical event explanation was unreasonable. The omission is that a significant abnormal objective measurement was mentioned, but largely excluded from the court's reasoning. Alert and oriented versus confused and not oriented. In the Bindover transcript at the scene, Shirilla had delayed responses, was confused, did not know what had happened, and was not oriented to the event or location. The appellate opinion states that at the hospital, she was alert, oriented, and had normal breathing, circulation, and pupil response. The discrepancy in this presentation is that both can be true at different times. Two things can be true at once. Do you remember that live we did? If not, go find it. It's titled that. Both can be true at different times, but the appellate presentation emphasizes the later normal findings without equally emphasizing the earlier altered mental state. The appeal summarizes the hospital record as showing Shirilla was alert and oriented. Why does this matter? Because the two observations happened at different points. The crash scene, she was confused, there was confusion and disorientation. Later hospital examination, greater alertness and orientation. Using the later condition to infer what her condition was immediately before the crash may be unreliable without explaining the temporal difference. Chronological context diminished is a classification. We did talk about this a little bit ago. Never took her foot off the accelerator. In the Bindover transcript, the event data recorder showed full accelerator input during its recording period. That proves what the system registered, not necessarily the driver's mental intent, awareness, or exact foot mechanics throughout the entire route. The appellate opinion repeatedly states that Shirilla never took her foot off the accelerator. The discrepancy or evidentiary leap is that this converts electronic accelerator position data into a different factual statement about her physical foot and continuous conscious behavior. In the bindover, the sergeant testified that the throttle operation required human interaction and that no mechanical binding was found. However, the EDR recorded only a limited interval associated with the crash event, but not necessarily every second of the vehicle's travel. The prosecution itself acknowledged that investigators could not pinpoint exactly when the vehicle first began accelerating rapidly. Why does this matter? Because a more technically exact statement would be, quote, the event data reflected continuous full accelerator input during the recorded interval. That does not automatically establish conscious application, purposeful application, the precise moment the input began, that no physical interference occurred, and that the foot was physically capable of being removed, and who was interacting with other controls. Technical evidence translated into a stronger human intent narrative. Human intent narrative. Let me check in with you guys. At 100 miles per hour, you're not pushing a door open and able to tuck and roll. You can't be moving that way. You wouldn't be able to open the door. I'm just reading. I feel like she deserves another chance, says Maggie. She was young and probably doesn't remember much from the crash. I do feel bad for her and the victims. There's 3 victims here at the end of the day. Mackenzie was a victim of her environment and the lifestyle that Dominic Russo brought into her life. And Dom and Davion are victims of the crash. I mean, it's just the truth. That doesn't mean I'm bagging on victims, trashing victims. We read it all the time in the text messages. The rug dealings, the pews, her hiding rugs for him. Like, there's just so much. And I know we think she's a demon, but at the end of the day, she's a human too. Let's continue. Duration of full acceleration. In the Bindover transcript, the prosecution estimated from performance data that the car must have been accelerating for roughly 18 to 20 seconds to reach approximately 97 to 100 miles per hour, but also admitted the exact starting point could not be pinpointed. Okay, so some things are not pinpointed. And the appellate opinion describes constant maximum acceleration leading to the crash and a continuous intentional course. The difference is that the opinion presents the duration and continuity with more certainty than the underlying inability to identify the precise acceleration and starting point. In the bindover, the prosecution said it could not pinpoint exactly when the car first started going fast and reasoned backward from later speed measurements. Why this matters? Because the estimated acceleration period was inference based on speed at observed points, assumed vehicle performance, loading and conditions, continuous accelerator input. It was not a direct 18 to 20 second EDR recording. The EDR recording length versus broader crash narrative. In the Bindover transcript, the prosecution explained that the black box recorded approximately the final 5 seconds after a triggering event. The appellate opinion's wording can create the impression that the EDR directly documented the entire approach, including the earlier acceleration period. The omission is that the distinction between directly recorded data and reconstructed earlier movement is not consistently maintained. In the bindover during closing, the prosecution stated that the black box recorded approximately the final 5 seconds. Why does this matter? Because evidence outside the EDR interval came from surveillance video, timing and distance calculations, vehicle performance estimates, Life 360 information, reconstruction testimony. Those are legitimate forms of evidence, but they carry different degrees of precision. Precision. Evidentiary sources are blended together. Yeah. As someone who has been in an accident where someone passed away, my heart goes out to her. 27 witnesses stopped to tell the state troopers that they crossed the median and hit me head on. And I still feel guilty because I can't remember anything at all. Thanks for sharing that, Beach Bum. And for malnutrition to show in your blood work, it's at a safe level that you will have significant physical symptoms like dizziness and fainting. I'm just reading your guys' comments. Okay, let's continue. Break evidence, no application versus no attempt. In the bindover transcript, the EDR showed no brake pedal application during the recorded interval. The brakes were mechanically capable of functioning. The appellate opinion says Shirilla never depressed the brake and characterizes this as an intentional failure to try to stop. The discrepancy is that the data proves no recorded brake input. It does not alone prove why there was no brake input. In the bindover, the mechanical testimony established that the brake components were capable of operating, although the brake pads were worn and needed replacement. Why does this matter? No braking is consistent with the intentional acceleration, but it can also be consistent with unconsciousness. We kind of went over this earlier. Seizure or syncope, medical or confusion, immobilization, panic, interference inside the vehicle, and the inability to respond. The evidence requires an inference to move from no brake input to purposeful refusal to brake. Pedal misapplication evidence. In the bindover transcript, the expert discussed pedal misapplication and conceded that drivers sometimes press the wrong pedal. The defense highlighted that a driver may continue accelerating because the driver mistakenly believes she is pressing the brake. Sometimes I wonder if airbags deployed, would it be possible she thought she was hitting the brake? The appellate opinion briefly says accidental accelerator application was possible, but emphasizes that the accelerator did not return to zero. The omission is that the opinion treats the absence of a zero reading as largely defeating pedal error, even though prolonged wrong pedal application was raised as a possibility. In the bindover, the defense closing emphasized testimony that people may press the wrong pedal and continue speeding. Why does this matter? Because the data contradicts simultaneous brake and accelerator application because the Toyota's brake override system should reduce throttle. It does not necessarily exclude someone mistakenly pressing on the accelerator while believing it was the brake. Mechanical condition described as fully normal. In the bindover transcript, the expert ruled out a pre-impact mechanical cause. He also found that the brake pads were worn to approximately 1 to 2 millimeters and due for replacement, although he said this would not cause sudden brake failure. The appellate opinion broadly states that there was no mechanical or electrical failure and that the brakes appear functional. The conclusion is substantially supported, but the worn brake condition is largely omitted from the simplified description. In the bindover, the juvenile bindover, the transcript reflects that the brake linings were worn and needed maintenance, while also explaining that the wear would not cause inability to stop. Why does this matter? This is not evidence of brake failure, but it is a qualification to the broader suggestion that every component was in ideal condition. Meticulously maintained Camry. In the Bindover transcript, the mechanical expert found no causative defect, but documented worn brake pads and severe post impact damage. The appellate opinion prosecution narrative. During closing, the prosecutor called it a meticulously maintained Camry. The discrepancy is that meticulously maintained appears to be argument or rhetoric rather than a mechanical finding established by the expert. That's a good point. Hey, Vicky. Can you press the brakes while gas pedal is down, accelerating? What would happen then? I don't know. Please don't try it. um, Thank you, Shay. March of 2022 text messages between Dom and Mackenzie mentioned Dom attempting to jump out of the car when Mackenzie was driving crazy. They have to put a special ban on you for malnutrition in the hospital for fall risk. I have struggled with EDs my whole life, so I would always get risk. Oh, okay. Okay, let's continue. In the bindover, the prosecutor used that description in closing while arguing against a Toyota failure. Why it matters, because no causative failure was found, is not the same thing as meticulously maintained. The first is expert evidence, the second is advocacy. This is prosecutorial embellishment, not necessarily an appellate discrepancy. Prosecutor embellishment. Controlled turn onto progress drive. In the Bindover transcript, the prosecution characterized the initial turn as controlled. Other evidence described progress drive as curved, concrete, and bumpy. The appellate opinion treats the controlled turn as evidence that Shirilla was conscious and purposely controlling the vehicle immediately before full acceleration. The difference is that a controlled turn is circumstantial evidence of control at that moment, but it does not necessarily establish a condition throughout the subsequent period. In the Bindover, progress drive was described as curved and bumpy rather than perfectly straight and smooth. Why does this matter? Because a temporary medical event could theoretically occur after a controlled turn. The turn does not, standing alone, rule out a later impairment. The classification is that reasonable inference presented as more conclusive than the fact itself. Aimed directly at the sign in building. In the Bindover transcript, the prosecution argued that the car aimed at the illuminated sign, but the expert evidence also described corrective steering, loss of control, possibilities, and reactions after the vehicle became airborne. The vehicle becoming airborne is so important, and I just ignored this for so long before. Absolutely, I would be shitting myself if my car went airborne. You know what I mean? And panicking. And then to be hit in the face with airbags, yo, I don't know what would happen. Her attorney would have needed to call doctors and experts to testify, and he failed to do that. Like he asked Natalie to testify about Kenzie's POTS instead of calling her doctor who diagnosed it. Facts. Exactly. I have so much love for Kenzie now. I was young once, and honestly, she just needs another chance. We all deserve a second chance. Does this sound good? Let me know, because I saw Boo Boo refresh. Thank you, Calissa Katz, for that comment. I think they filed state appeal to appeal late on purpose. In my opinion, legal team wants to go straight to court, Supreme Court ruling, a better change for a fair ruling. And Maggie, thank you for that comment. I was young once, and honestly, she just needs another chance. We all deserve a second chance. Go over your airborne thoughts, Melly. What's up? I mean, I think I would lose control if the car was going airborne, and who knows what was going on in that car. It was probably chaotic, especially if they were fighting. But we don't know, right? We can just assume. People say they weren't fighting at the house, but regardless of anything else, surely we can all agree her Adi was awful and failed her in every way. Absolutely. Hello, God's servant. Good to see you. Melly, I really don't understand how people are so upset about your own thoughts. I watched you when I didn't agree with you about Kenzie, but glad you are investigating. Hello, Dr. Vana. I just got here, but would love to answer side questions for you guys. Okay, that's awesome. This is crazy. Now we love her. Shake my head. Nobody's. If someone thinks that in the chat, that's okay for them to have their opinion. We don't need to start attacking one another. Like if Maggie says that, Maggie's entitled to that. I don't understand why we're getting mad about people having opinions. It's like we're all wired differently. We all were raised differently. We all look differently. We all have been through different experiences. We all were raised differently. Our environments have all been differently. We all have dated a toxic person. We all have maybe dated a perfect person. I mean, like, shit, I'm exhausted from just like, we shouldn't feel bad for another man's actions and choices. I love Melly, still hate Kenzie. And that, see what I mean? Beautifully Broken still loves me, and I still love her. Hey, God's servant, good to see you. My favorite. I'm retired law enforcement, and I've had 7 to 8 chances. What does that mean? They fought at parties before, but acted cool to show face. Just text back and forth. Yeah, and when you're in a domestic violence relationship or abuse, like you don't. It's sometimes it is people that's kept in secret. You know what I'm saying? Like domestic violence victims don't just go around saying, "Oh, I'm getting beat the shit out of me every day." Like a lot of the time it's quiet and it's kept behind closed doors. And I'd only speak from experience, and like I'm a different person now and I got second chances. And I'm so grateful, but I did a lot of work, right? I've been in therapy my whole life. I've done a lot of things that we're not going to talk about now because we can do a later live and you can ask me all the questions you want. But it's like, you know, I had a lot of resources that Kenzie didn't have. And I got distracted because of the comments, but you know where I'm going. Like, I was really toxic with my ex-boyfriend. Not my recent ex, but like a long time ago. And I wouldn't be toxic in front of my parents. Nope. Nope. That shit would wait till we got home. Absolutely. Absolutely. Melly, the 7 to 8 chances means I've messed up a lot and have had numerous second chances. And that's coming from a law enforcement personnel. Thank you, God's servant, for sharing that with us. I've had numerous second chances. I did too. And maybe if you guys knew, you probably wouldn't think I deserved it. And hey, Jen, good to see you, my love. It's crazy. It's really crazy. We can all wish for is the justice system to actually see the miscarriage that happened in this case. Also, a trauma bond, you feel like you cannot leave or live without that person. The division is worse than politics. Can't we all just get along and discuss like adults? Oh, my Lacey and my Jen right here, my girls. Thank you. From the TT. My father-in-law was an engineer for a big auto dealer. He says sudden acceleration is a true phenomenon. He's told me several cases, lawsuits, automakers pay off. It's sad. Exactly. 2 sides to every story. We're human. I'm a forgiving human. And let me see. Dr. Vana is in here. I want to see what Dr. Vana said. Did I miss something? I'll have to reach out to you, Dr. Vana, for sure. I would love that. Yeah, her attorney could have gotten a development specialist or nutritionist to study those patterns. It was clear there was an ED. And thank you, Boo Boo Kitty. I saw your super for having an open mind and being able to pivot. It's okay to think freely and change out what we think as new information comes forward. Yeah, like when is that like acceptable? Like I thought we were trying to like not bully people. Like how do we want change but we're not willing to like participate in that? Because I was on a live on ATS last night and there was someone who was a supporter of mine who went in there and said that I'm weird and that I'm trash. And it's like, wait, how does that make me trash? Like, and you were here a few months ago and you were a member and you supported. And it's just like, and now I'm trash and weird. It's it's gross. It's gross. And to go in and say that in my friend's live, it's just like, of course. But like, it's just, I don't, bullying is never okay. And trying to get creators shut down is never okay either. It's just like, that is just gross behavior. We still love each other here and have different opinions. Thank you, Evie. Hey, Keezy girl. Keezy IRL in the house. Smelly for life. Love you, girl. And Keezy doesn't deserve the bullying either. Hi, it's Patty became a new member. Hi. We might get a little wild on the members only tomorrow. I'm kind of feeling it. Okay, let's continue. I'm over here yapping. The prosecution argued that the car aimed at the illuminated sign, but the expert evidence also described corrective steering, loss of control, possibilities, and reactions after the vehicle became airborne. The appellate opinion describes the car continuing through the sign and into the walls as part of proof of purposeful conduct. The difference is that aimed is an interpretation of the path, not an independently recorded fact about the driver's purpose. In the Bindover, the direct B line and an intentional targeting language came from the prosecution closing argument. Why does this matter? The physical trajectory may support intent, but, quote, aiming requires an inference about conscious purpose. The classification is advocacy language incorporated into the factual narrative. And like also remember lovely Tim Troop when he says, "Oh, Davion was just cargo." And then the judge says, "Oh, Davion was just cargo." It's like, Kenzie never said that. Like, that's just that set the narrative for how we looked at this, right? Wow, very gross behavior. Yeah. Her attorney could have done a lot of that and didn't do for whatever reason. He was over there like this, sleeping with his legs stretched out like he thought he was at home, fucking eating a burger on the couch, watching Seinfeld. Like, I don't get it. I fight a bitch from Ellie. I love you, Jen. Unhealed trauma makes people be that way or some kind of pain also being and on doing it, they wouldn't say it face to face. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Where did I leave off? Oh, road condition evidence. In the Bindover, the witnesses described Progress Drive as rough, bumpy, and curved. The prosecution disputed the defense characterization of 18 to 25 deep potholes, but we call them chuck holes. The appellate opinion states that the road was rough in its general trial summary, but does not substantially engage with whether road conditions contributed to loss of control. The difference is that the defense's extreme pothole characterization may not have been supported, but roughness and curvature were, and nevertheless established. In the Bindover, the transcript testimony described the road as concrete, bumpy, and curved. Why does this matter? Because the absence of large potholes does not mean the roadway was completely smooth or irrelevant. The two propositions should not be conflated. Life 360 speed evidence. In the Bindover transcript, Tyler Croy testified as a Life 360 user, not as an employee or an expert. Thank you. He acknowledged that the application does not identify who was using the phone. The appellate narrative uses location and speed evidence as part of the broader reconstruction. The potential evidentiary issue is that the underlying witness lacked technical expertise to validate Life 360's measurements, methodology, precision, or user attribution. In the appeal, the appellate's opinion's own factual summary notes that Croy was not a Life 360 expert and that the application did not establish who was using Flanagan's phone. Why does this matter? Because Life 360 may corroborate general travel and speed, but its limits include one, phone based rather than vehicle based measurement, two, unknown technical accuracy, three, unknown user, four, possible sampling delay, and five, lack of expert foundation. Evidence of motive. Dominic considered ending the relationship. Oh, here we go. Hi, it's Patty. Thank you. Thank you for the super watching Seinfeld. I know, right? Are actually the Shirillas are actually the nicest person. They are just beyond themselves in grief. We need to just respect each other and be kind to each other because life is too short. What did Dr. Vana say? Mackenzie words, if you ain't hating, you doing something wrong. Thank you, Dr. Vana. Thank you. Yes. Yes. I've had a lifetime of trauma and it made me who I am today. And I'm not mean unless pressed. And then I'm psychotic. Yeah. The word chuckles gets me every time. Boo Boo says, do you know them? Have you spent time with them? I cannot imagine what they're going through and would hate to be judged. I want to talk about something involving the Shirillas later. The fundraiser drama. The judge did. She repeated that. The prosecutor said that Davion was cargo, and the judge repeated it. And that, you know what? Like that whole thing about he was just a new friend, like I don't know. I think that was so misunderstood. Now looking back to it. Thank you, Evie. Oh, for gifting 5 memberships. Dr. Vana got one. Lisi, our friend Dolly Talk from Hella's channel. Love them over there. Amanda and Lisa became members. That is so kind. Thank you, Evie, my mod and my friend. Very nice. Yeah, they started all that and twisted what she was trying to say. She was clearly nervous. I haven't exactly shared everything that I know. And I can honestly say that doesn't mean that I don't care for the victims. But like why did we think Steven and Natalie are demons for so long? Like I would be fighting for my kid too. You know what I'm saying? If I had one. Let's continue. Bindover transcript. In the Bindover Detective Azu reportedly testified about what Angelo Russo told investigators regarding Dominic's thoughts about the relationship. This was not direct testimony from Dominic. I have something to say about this in a second. The appellate opinion states that the investigators testified Russo's brother said that Dominic was considering ending the relationship and uses that as a potential motive for evidence. The discrepancy is that the court accurately identifies it is as a brother statement to investigators, but the motive inference rests on the layered secondhand evidence. And I don't knock Angelo. We don't know him. He hasn't spoke about this, but there's questionable things. We're going to be reviewing a police interview about this soon. So keep your eye out. I think it matters when all these people are witnesses and just saying all these things and like, what about their character and what they really knew and how much they were involved? All the adults failed. That's what I've known from the start. Yeah, but like, which parent is perfect? And if you are, please contact me. So when I decide to have children, I can be perfect too. Please. Please. A lot of us have been in contact with the Shirillas, and it's a huge misconception that they are bad people and simply untrue. They didn't ask for any of this. No parent is perfect. Well said. Well said. No parent is really? Because people be sure acting like it. That judge was so bad. Like, she was so judgmental. The judge was judgmental. Like, she had already went in there with an attitude, if you ask me. Did you guys know that she was or is being investigated for like What was it that I read? Kizzy, are you here? Um, I think she was under investigation for like overcharging, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Mhm. Something along those lines. Let me get my facts for the next live and then I will bring them to you. Hello, Kalina, my love. The judge was so biased. The judge should have recused. Wasn't it you, Boo Boo, who told me about this? The judge should have recused herself for multiple reasons. Okay, so in the appellate court identifies this information investigators received from Dominic's brother rather than as a direct statement from Dominic. Why it matters. The evidence may satisfy the relatively low probable cause standard, but its strengths should be distinguished from a firsthand statement or documented breakup plan. The classification is accurately reported, but evidentially weaker than the narrative may suggest. Here we go. July 17th, threat wording. I was waiting for this because you guys mentioned it. In the Bindover transcript, the prosecution argued that Christopher Martin heard Shirilla say words such as, "I will crash this car," or "I'm going to wreck this car right now," during an argument. The appellate opinion treats this as a prior threat to crash the vehicle with Dominic inside and later uses it as evidence of intent in the fatal crash. The difference is the basic event is consistently reported, but the exact wording varies, and the opinion gives the earlier statement strong predicative weight despite the different circumstances. The appellate opinion says a witness heard her threaten to crash the car less than a month earlier. The Bindover prosecution described the statement as, "I will crash this car during closing." Why does it matter? A threat made during an argument can support motive or intent, but does not automatically prove that a later crash was a fulfillment for that threat, especially where the earlier car stopped, Dominic exited safely. The precise context was disputed, and there was no proven argument immediately before the crash. Classification is consistent core fact, stronger casual interpretation in appeal. Again, Hench is not reliable. No disrespect. But like, no, no. No, no, Hench. This was not supposed to be a victim statement. Y'all need to watch more sentencing hearings. No one can show me proof of intent because there is none. Yeah. Okay, we know that the Shirlers aren't the best, like, to give interviews or, whatever, but um some petty out of place stuff in the meantime, yeah. It made no sense for her to talk about the victims. The judge had no right to interrupt Natalie during the character statement. No. The Shirlas are naive but not evil. Sadly, Natalie's statement trial didn't help Kenzie. It should have been held against Kenzie. It shouldn't have been held against Kenzie. Yeah. No evidence of anger immediately before the crash. In the Bindover transcript, witnesses who saw the group shortly before the crash generally described the evening as calm, normal, or friendly. The appellate opinion expressly acknowledges that the state could not establish that Shirilla was angry or upset with Dominic immediately before the crash. The important admission is that this is not a discrepancy, but it materially limits the motive narrative. In the appeal, the court acknowledges that the state could not establish that Shirilla was angry at Russo or otherwise upset immediately before the crash. Why it matters? Because this is one of the most important concessions in the appellate opinion. The purpose inference depended heavily on conflict, prior relationship conflict, the earlier highway statement, speed and accelerator data, the absence of braking, and the vehicle path. There was no direct evidence of a fight, threat, or contemporaneous plan that morning. Material exculpatory limitation acknowledged by the court. Toxic relationship versus mixed relationship evidence. In the Bindover, the evidence was mixed. Some witnesses described arguments and threats. Others described love, ordinary teenage conflict, and normal behavior immediately before the crash. The appellate opinion says certain witnesses described a love-in relationship, but stresses that July of 2022 involved significant fighting corroborated by the video. The difference is that the court recognizes both sides, but gives the conflict evidence greater weight in constructing motive. The appellate opinion acknowledges testimony from friends and family describing the relationship as loving while emphasizing other evidence of fighting and threats. Why does this matter? Because the existence of argument does not itself establish homicidal intent. The probative question is whether the conflict was sufficiently connected to the crash. The existence of arguments does not establish homicidal intent. What if they were told one thing and the trial was a complete blindside because they weren't in there? How would they know, right? Right. If Hench would have been cross-examined, Hench shouldn't even be included. Hench was bailed out or assisted by Miss Russo. And we saw that on the docket, right? She got $900 back for, I don't know, bail money and living in her house. I see a problem with this. Let me take a drink. I'm sorry. If that was my case, I would have my lawyer on that quick. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Um, the 136 social media examples of reckless or distracted driving. In the Bindover transcript, the defense argued that investigators found approximately 136 examples of Shirilla engaging in distracted, reckless, or speeding behavior, compared with the state's reliance on two relationship incidents. The appellate opinion notes that generally, that Shirilla often drove distracted or recklessly according to her social media, but does not emphasize the asserted volume of examples when evaluating accident or recklessness as an alternative explanation. The material omission is the frequency evidence was materially compressed. In the bindover, the defense highlighted the alleged 136 examples during closing as evidence of pattern of recklessness rather than purposeful homicide. I think that if 136 examples of her recklessly driving were included, why wasn't we know Dom isn't the one on trial here, but I'm sure we could find a lot of examples of him threatening all kinds of stuff in those text messages. I'm gonna do a little project. Read that again. Which part? Which part? The 136 examples? What are you saying, Anthony? Do you need a timeout? Hmm. I'm sorry, but man, baby, rug dealing, pedo, grab the wheel prior. Oh, says K Hood. Oh, it's getting a little hot in here. The girl who fell down the stairs at New Year's Eve party can thank the Shirillas. They called EMS. No Russos got involved. No. On the contrary, they locked up the house and avoided speaking to police. Mm-mm. Hench heard hearsay. Yeah. Lots of recklessness on all sides. Okay, let's continue. In the appeal, the appellate opinion mentions that distracted slash reckless driving argument, but does not explore the number or its significance. Why does this matter? A history of reckless driving can cut both ways. It may show disregard for safety, but it may also support an inference that the fatal crash was another act of dangerous recklessness rather than a planned killing. Mm-mm. Facts. I need some lean and Xanax, says Beautifully Broken. You better stop it. We do not condone rug use. No, no, no. She's gonna get that protest she wants, so much people shouting her name and all that. Why do you hate Kenzie? Like, give me one good solid reason why you hate her. And why do y'all think that she wants all this clout? Kenzie hasn't asked for any money. And when people try to do something for her, like the fundraiser, people are being threatened to have their channels taken down, et cetera, et cetera. That could go both ways. Those who want clout, she hasn't come out and done anything other than the Netflix documentary. Really, I'm trying to be nice here. I don't know why anyone would want. Oh, I mean, yeah, I know. Being high profile inmate doesn't help you, it hurts you more. I'm too cute and funny for a timeout. Okay, yeah, this is interesting. Why it matters. A history of reckless driving can cut both ways. It may show disregard for safety, but it may also support an inference that the fatal crash was another act of dangerous recklessness rather than a planned killing. Significant defense evidence condensed. Purpose versus prior calculation and design. In the Bindover transcripts, the juvenile court found that probable cause for murder and related charges, but did not find probable cause for aggravated murder requiring prior calculation and design. The appellate opinion upheld the transfer and later upheld murder convictions based on purpose. The procedural distinction is that the court rejected the strongest premeditation theory, but accepted the lesser purpose theory. These should not be treated as equivalent findings. The appellate opinion confirms that the juvenile court rejected probable cause for aggravated murder, but found probable cause for the remaining charges. Why does this matter? Because the Bindover judge's decision indicates that the state had not shown a sufficient basis for prior calculation and design, even though the evidence was sufficient at that stage to establish probable cause for purposeful murder. These are the strongest discrepancies and omissions. 1. Unidentified transmission movement becomes attributed to Shirilla. 2. Manually shifted becomes, quote, forced back into drive. 3. The court states that there were no medical evidence, despite abnormal oxygen, confusion, and testimony, that a seizure could leave no later signs. 4. Later normal hospital findings are used to diminish earlier confusion and disorientation. 5. EDR accelerator input becomes a direct statement that she consciously kept her foot down. An estimated acceleration duration is presented with greater certainty than the underlying reconstruction allowed. Alternative explanations for the sharp steering movements are acknowledged but minimized. 8. The opinion compresses extensive evidence of habitual reckless or distracted driving. 9. Prosecutorial aiming language becomes part of the purposeful crash narrative. Becomes part of the purposeful crash narrative. 10. No evidence established anger, an argument, or an immediate motive on the morning of the crash. The bottom line is the appellate opinion does not appear to invent the central physical evidence. High speed, full accelerator input during the recorded interval, and no recorded braking and no diagnosed mechanical failure are supported. The more substantial problems involve how certain or qualified facts are converted into definite conclusions. 1. Data showing accelerator input becomes conscious intent. 2. Unidentified transmission movement becomes Shirilla's intentional act. 3. Absence of a diagnosis becomes absence of medical evidence. 4. A vehicle trajectory becomes purposeful aiming. 5. An estimated timing becomes a continuous, fully documented course. 6. Prior relationship conflict becomes proof of present motive. Those are primarily interpretive and inferential discrepancies, rather than the simple mistakes such as correct date or witness name. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that was part 2. Now let's move to part 3. Thank you guys for being here. Please make sure you hit the like button. You move the report over. Okay, so the most important findings in this report. Wait, should I read this before or after? I'll read it after. Wait, I'll read it now. I'm going to share 2 screens. The most important findings in the next report we're going to read is that the juvenile ruling appears to group drug possession. This is what I want to talk about. Drug possession and possessing criminal tools under count 14, rather than identifying separate count numbers. The appellate opinion supplies a detailed probable cause rationale that the juvenile judge did not expressly state in the juvenile bindover. The juvenile court's detailed rejection of prior calculation designed for aggravated murder is heavily compressed. The appellate opinion omits the juvenile judge's statement that State versus Smith prevented aggravated murder charge for being filed after transfer. The identity issue independently noticed and researched by the juvenile judge is omitted from the appellate discussion. So now let's get to that report. Hold please. And these are my documents, of course, with the help of looking things up in AI. Executive summary. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, let me see. Let me see what you guys are saying. Hi, Jakey. The same drugs that the cops put in her bag, LOL, says Kay. Kay has some strong opinions here. She could end up with more time, but she needs a fair trial. Hey, and if she's willing to take that risk, it's her call, right? Wait, what did I miss? I'd love to send money. Okay, Maggie, email me. We're cute. Melly, I accidentally fell into Christine Rousseau rabbit hole, and oh my God. Elaborate. Finally, long time, first time caller. Melly, just find your channel, so working backwards here, but is there a post of when you change of opinion? Yeah, there's a lot of videos. Good luck. I can't keep track. There's a lot I've done. I have a lot of videos on this case. They say Mackenzie's mom runs her Facebook page. Who cares? A family member would do that. Why is that a problem? Why, respectfully, why wait 4 years? And the day that the Netflix documentary dropped, why would you then start advocating with a million fundraisers? I'm not a hater. I don't hate any one of them. I'm just saying, like, what the hell? Yeah, I'm just reading your comments. I've been here from the beginning. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. I appreciate that. Okay, last report. The report compares the March 15, 2023 juvenile probable cause. Okay, transcript. There are 12 reportable differences. 1 direct count labeling issue, 5 material omissions, 4 expanded characterizations, 2 minor wording procedural differences. Bottom line finding. The Bindover announces that the juvenile's court decision count by count, but it does not explain which particular facts establish probable cause for murder, felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, or criminal tools. The appellate opinion later supplies a detailed evidentiary theory, 100% acceleration speed, medical evidence, and mechanical inspection, and potential motive, and presents that evidence as a basis supporting transfer. The appellate analysis may be legally permissible, but it is not the reasoning expressly stated by the juvenile judge in the volume in the juvenile transcript. Okay, detailed findings. She desperately needed medical psych help for her ED and psych and substance issues. She was at the point where her body was shutting down. Why isn't the person who supplied these rugs and knew about him, why is that person not being charged, if we're being fair? Because it was not just Dominic. Respectfully. I know people are going to say, oh my God, how are you trashing the victims? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not. I really am not. It's just the truth. You know, Kenzie started dating Dom when she was 13, 14. Starts hanging around him, being around him, then doesn't leave his side, and she gets obsessed with him. And they end up dating for years. I don't see 20 lean bottles at Natalie Shirilla's house. And if you have that document or you have that picture or video, come on up. Show me. Show me. Mackenzie's living through a nightmare that nobody could possibly understand. The facts is not trashing. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. And absolutely, she's a product of her environment, whether that's at her home, which we don't even know what happened in the Shirilla home. And 2, we know she spent every damn day at Dom's house where there was like no adults. I mean, hello? I still want to know. where all those lean bottles came from, respectfully. Because that's a lot. I've worked in big pharma, and who's getting that much lean? Promethazine. That's what I'm trying to say. That sounds like grooming to me, says K Hood. Okay, Maggie, we can do that. You guys can email me if you would like to help Kenzie. If there's enough of you, then maybe, yeah, I'll do something and make that possible. He was far from perfect, so what? Okay. So the Shirillas are far from perfect, so what? Kenzie is far from perfect, so what? Like, tomato, tomato. Probably through crypto payments. Shit. Dom had more money than I had at that age for sure. Kenzie never ratted on them either, and look how they are being. Moving on. I'm gonna stop talking. Let's get into this. Detailed findings. Possessing criminal tools and counts is mislabeled in the ruling. Direct error, high. High level classification. The Bindover states, as it relates to count 14, drug possession, as well as possessing criminal tools, treating both offenses as count 14, earlier proceedings identified the surviving counts as 14 and 15. In the appeal, the appellate opinion correctly describes the separate drug possession and possessing criminal tool charges and later identifies them as counts 11 and 12 in the adult indictment. The assessment is the juvenile ruling appears to omit the separate count number for possessing criminal tools. This is the clearest internal count labeling defect in the Bindover transcript. 2. The appellate opinion supplies factual reasoning absent from the juvenile ruling. This is expanded characterization level high. The in the Bindover transcript, the juvenile judge announces that the probable cause exists for murder, felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, and criminal tools, but gives no case-specific factual explanations for those findings. We know there was a rug investigation going on. Who got charged for the ammo? Period. I would donate to Melly. That's it, Melly. Give me a PayPal account, please. You can email me. I'll have to find I haven't used my PayPal account in a minute, so I'll have to look that up. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Okay. So the appellate opinion supplies factual reasoning absent from juvenile ruling. In the transcript, the juvenile transcript, the juvenile judge announces the probable cause. Okay. The appellate opinion states that 100% acceleration, near 100 miles per hour speed, absence of medical event, absence of mechanical failure, and evidence of potential motive establish probable cause. The assessment and those facts may exist elsewhere in the hearing record, but the Bindover transcript does not identify them as the juvenile judge's reasons. Readers should not attribute the appellate court's detailed rationale verbatim to the juvenile judge. 3. Juvenile court's rejection of aggravated murder is substantially compressed. In the Bindover, the juvenile judge quotes the prior calculation and design standard explains that spur of the moment conduct is insufficient, lists the traditional 3 factors, and then finds no probable cause on count 1 and 2. In the appellate opinion, initially summarizes only the probable cause was not established for aggravated murder without reproducing the judge's legal analysis of factors. The assessment is the omission removes the reasoning, showing that the juvenile court distinguished purposeful murder from aggravated murder, requiring prior calculation and design. 4. State versus Smith limitation is omitted. The juvenile judge expressly states that because no probable cause was found on aggravated murder, the state of Ohio does not have the ability to file those charges after transfer, citing State versus Smith. The appellate opinion does not mention this express limitation in its procedural summary or Bindover analysis. The assessment is this omission matters because it defines a legal boundary of the transfer order and clarifies what charges the grand jury could not revive after the adverse probable cause finding. 5. Identity issue noticed and researched by the juvenile judge is omitted. The judge states that the defense counsel argued no witness identified Mackenzie, that the court independently noticed the issue, requested case law, conducted research, and concluded identity can be proven circumstantially. The appellate opinion's Bindover discussion does not identify this as an issue decided by the juvenile court. The omission conceals a specific evidentiary concern for the juvenile judge considered before transfer. The appellate opinion describes a more complete probable cause analysis than the transcript records. The Bindover states the general standard and announces outcomes, but does not expressly evaluate evidence supporting each element of murder. The appellate opinion says the state presented credible evidence supporting each element and explains that the central issue was purposeful causation. This is the court's de novo legal review of sufficiency, not a detailed finding made on the record by the juvenile judge. This distinction should be maintained. 7. No explicit juvenile finding that Shirilla purposefully caused the crash. The juvenile ruling finds probable cause for murder counts, but never expressly says in factual terms that Mackenzie purposefully accelerated or purposefully crashed into the wall. The appellate opinion states there was credible evidence that she purposefully caused the crash and describes the acceleration and impact evidence. The assessment is that the appellate court draws the purposeful causation conclusion from the full hearing record. From the full hearing record of the transcripts itself contains only the ultimate count ruling. No explicit juvenile finding of motive. In the transcripts, the juvenile transcripts contains no finding that Dominic was ending the relationship and that Mackenzie had a motive or that the July 17th incident supplied motive. The appellate opinion states that the state presented credible evidence of potential motive based on statements attributed to Dominic's brother and mother. The police body cam that we're going to review is actually Angelo. Yeah, we need to review it because he was a witness in this to some extent. And I think it's important. Yeah, I do. Hate me for it if you want, but you shouldn't. That Dominic was ending the relationship, that Mackenzie had a motive, or that the July 17th incident supplied motive. The appellate opinion states that the state presented credible evidence of a potential motive based on statements attributed to Dominic's brother and mother, who I find this is where my opinion changed. This is it. The motive rationale belongs to the appellate court's review and is not stated in the juvenile ruling. The juvenile judge's exact probable cause formulation is only partially reflected. In the Bindover, the judge states probable cause requires more than mere suspicion, less than proof beyond a reasonable doubt, a fair probability of criminal activity, and credible evidence as to each element. The appellate opinion adds that probable cause does not require the belief to be correct or more likely true than false, and quotes additional appellate authorities. The assessment is the standards are compatible, but the appellate opinion expands the legal formulation beyond what the juvenile judge stated. 10. The ruling counts by structure is compressed into remaining charges. In the Bindover, the judge separately rules on aggravated schmurder, felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, and criminal tools. The appellate procedure summary says probable cause was found as to the remaining charges after aggravated schmurder was rejected. The assessment is the summary is accurate at a high level, but removes the exact count-by-count disposition and distinction between mandatory transfer schmurder counts and other offenses. 11. Mandatory bindover basis is worded imprecisely in the Bindover. In the Bindover, the judge says, quote, Mackenzie's date of birth was 17 years old, and then concludes the murder counts and age make the transfer mandatory. The appellate opinion correctly frames the statute as applying when the child was 16 or 17 at the time of the charged act and probable cause exists for murder or another listed offense. The assessment is that the juvenile judge plainly meant that Mackenzie was 17, not that her date of birth was 17 years old. This is a transcription or spoken word imposition, not a substantive age dispute. Bond proceedings and post-transfer restrictions are omitted from appellate narrative. The bindover includes the state's request for $1 million bond, defense arguments for a lower 10% bond, the judge's consultation with a bond commissioner, and imposition of a $500,000 cash surety property bond. The appellate opinion does not recount this bond hearing in its factual or the procedural summary. The assessment is that omission does not alter the probable cause holding, but it removes the immediate consequences and conditions imposed when the case was transferred. Here's the comparison matrix. 1. The issue is possessing criminal tools count is mislabeled in the ruling. This is a direct error. The severity is high. The conclusion is that the juvenile ruling appears to omit the separate count number for possessing criminal tools. This is the clearest internal count labeling defect in the bindover. 2. The appellate opinion supplies factual reasoning absent from the juvenile ruling. The classification is expanded characterization. The severity is high. Those facts may exist elsewhere in the hearing records, but the bindover does not identify them as the juvenile judge's reasons. Readers should not attribute the appellate court's detailed rationale verbatim to the juvenile judge. 3. Juvenile court's rejection of aggravated murder is substantially compressed. Severity is high. The omission removes the reasoning showing that the juvenile courts distinguish purposeful murder and aggravated murder requiring prior calculation and design. 4. State versus Smith limitation is omitted. High severity. The omission matters because it defines the legal boundary of the transfer order and clarifies what charges the grand jury could not revive after the adverse probable cause finding. 5. Identity issue noticed and researched by the juvenile judge is omitted. The omission conceals a specific evidentiary concern the juvenile judge considered before transfer. 6. The appellate opinion describes a more complete probable cause analysis in the bindover records. This is the appellate court's de novo legal review of sufficiency, not a detailed finding made on the record by the juvenile judge. The distinction should be maintained. 7. No explicit juvenile finding that Shirilla purposefully caused the crash. The appellate court draws a purposeful causation conclusion from the full hearing record. The bindover itself contains only the ultimate count ruling. 8. No explicit juvenile finding of motive. The motive rationale belongs to the appellate court's review and is not stated in the juvenile ruling. 9. The juvenile judge's exact probable cause formulation is only partially reflected. The standards are compatible, but the appellate opinion expands the legal formulation beyond what the juvenile judge stated. 10. The ruling count by count structure is compressed into remaining charges. The summary is accurate at a high level, but removes the exact count by count disposition and the distinction between mandatory transfer, murder counts, and other offenses. 11. Mandatory bindover basis is worded precisely in the bindover. The juvenile judge plainly meant that Mackenzie was 17, not that her date of birth was 17 years old. This is a transcription or spoken word imprecision. Okay. 12. Bond proceedings and post-transfer restrictions are omitted from appellate narrative. The omission does not alter the probable cause holding, but it removes the immediate consequences and conditions imposed when the case was transferred. Conclusion. Let me check in with you guys. Hey, Peach. They were threatening each other at the end. Dude, they broke up every other day. Like literally every other day, if not every day. I listened to Melly's 2021. Makes me upset. Yeah. Paul's mom was in the interview with him. Was her house defective? Could have been talking to her. I don't get it. Hello, Nevermore. I appreciate you reviewing every piece of evidence. May I ask, did you get text messages from Davion Dom's phone? Well, no. One of Dom's phone was not even brought into the case. I don't buy it, but how do we link their shadiness to what happened? Very sus. She's going to be found not guilty. Shady, shady, shady. Review it, Melly. Let's go. Yeah, I am. I'm done with people trying to silence people. It's absolutely wild. Last I checked, we're in America. Freedom of speech is still a thing. Or no? Did I miss something? Okay, conclusion. The most important difference is not a direct factual contradiction. It is a gap between the juvenile court's sparse on record explanation and the appellate court's detailed reconstruction of why probable cause existed. The juvenile court clearly rejected aggravated murder and the element of prior calculation and design, while still finding probable cause for purposeful murder. The appellate's opinion short procedural summary understates the significance of that distinction. The juvenile judge expressly limited the post transfer prosecution under State versus Smith. That limitation is absent from the appellate opinion. The juvenile ruling contains an inherent count number error by grouping possessing criminal tools under count 14 together with rug possession. None of these findings standing alone establishes that the appellate judge is invalid. They identify where the two documents differ and where a reader could mistakenly attribute appellate reasoning to the juvenile judge. What are my sources is the Bindover document that we already read and the 2024 appeal, which I want to get into tomorrow. Maybe in the members only, we'll review the 2024 appeal when we do our members only and go through that. I have a lot I've been working on the last 2 days off the record. So I didn't just forget about you. I know I didn't go live for 2 days, but it's because I'm working on some stuff. And hopefully, let me check my messages real quick. We should have a guest. Okay, I haven't got the I haven't got the okay, but we might have a guest on here next week. A very special guest. Just threatening big stuff when they argue or try to break up. I just realized I was 20 minutes behind. Oh no, she should just get a reduced and fair sentence. I can't see how this was planned and deliberate at all. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot, you guys. There's a lot I've been reading. Lots of rugs at the Russo house. Can't get Dom's phone. Mom made sure of that. The police visited that home, you guys. I think, I don't know, Keezy probably knows that exact number, but many times. Not that that makes this okay, what happened here. No. But again, it is the environment they were both living in. That does matter. Both kids had anger issues. Both kids had mental health issues. Freedom of thought and freedom of speech, absolutely. Okay, thank you. So can everyone, or not you guys, but like all the haters stop calling me trash? Thank you. Because I'm not. Melly, we're on the edge of our seats here. I know this guest, if she can come on. It's going to be good. I'm really excited. Early next week, if possible. Really excited to introduce her to you guys, although you might already know her. Your coverage of this case has opened my eyes a lot, says Beach Bum. Yeah. I'm not knocking it. Kenzie definitely deserves to do time for whatever, but the 2 lives, right? However, whatever that time is. But is there proof that she intentionally did it? I guess with the gas pedal. But is there proof that we know what actually happened in the car? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And the matter of the fact here is that when someone is trying to silence someone is because they don't want that information out. And that is not okay. And no one should support that. Respectfully. Like, if you love YouTube and you support all these creators and people on here, you shouldn't allow for someone else to say, get them canceled, get them deleted, report their accounts. Like, how is that? I've been on YouTube for so long, and you guys know me. I started off as Vinny's mod, Vinny Politan. Yeah, I was a mod for him. That's kind of what got me to start my channel. And I know many great channels on here, AG being one of them, my favorite. We don't have the same opinion and we support each other. We would never report each other. YouTube Streets, shout out to the YouTube Streets. They are also legitimate. They don't believe the same thing I do, but they're willing to review information and share their opinion. Would I ever think of reporting or taking down any of these channels because they don't agree with me? Absolutely not. No. On the contrary, they actually support, and I know AGB shouting me out all the time. Love him. Fair use of information. Get it over with. Yeah, call Strongsville PD. Deal with it. I don't know. Lyndon B. Johnson created FOIA. Was that right? I always have to look this up. Yeah, fair use of public information. You're absolutely right, Melly. No one should be advocating to cancel anyone. And you can think that is not okay and still think that Dom and Davion are victims and still defend them. What? I didn't know that about you. Yeah, I was a mod for Vinnie Politan for a while. Love him. Except, maybe they'll save that for a tea time. Melly, you're not trash for having personal opinion. No one is trash. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to drop any names, but she went into ATS last night saying that. I don't think I trust anyone. Trust Strongsville PD seems like they're on a payroll. Nope, I don't either. I listen to a lot of channel. I think it's important to get info and be open to all opinion. Thank you, Calissa Katz. I have someone trying to cancel me. Really? I'm interested, Dr. Vana. I'm interested in that information. That's how I found you, Melly. Lindsay found me through Vinny. That's been a while. Thank you, Lindsay Bay, for supporting and being here. Silencing people's means you got something to hide. Thank you. Mackenzie was emotional, but Dom is the only one that ever tried to hurt people and animals. That's also changing my opinion of the Courtney Clenny case that's coming up. We're going to be covering that trial heavy. But like all that new information about Christian Obumseli, RIP, he didn't deserve to die. But it is making a difference in how I'm looking at the case because there's proof that he was violent to her. And now that's coming out. And that might change a jury's opinion if they find out that there was a dead dog in his closet. If you missed that live, go check out my Courtney Clenny playlist. But I'm not going to mass report him. I'm just not going to watch. Yeah, exactly. Difference of opinion is what makes the world go round and round. Slay. Hi, Alcini. Watch out for her. I'll give it. Amen, Melly. If you don't like what somebody is saying, just don't watch. Melly, are that many people bashing you over Shirilla's case only? Oh, yeah. We could get, I could pull up tons of receipts. Fake profiles, threatening to dox me. And I'm like, dox me? I've already been upfront about my time that I've done and my mistakes and my mental health problems. There's nothing out there that even that would change who I am now. Like, that was a long time ago. And there's threatening messages, comments. I mean, I would have to pull out the receipt book and listen. It's heavy. She sends YouTube messages daily. I want to know who that is, but maybe. Okay. My email's in my description, Dr. Vana, or you can send me like a DM or find me on another platform. I'm pretty easy to reach. I don't think I don't think I have everyone heard Melly say you're not allowed to have your personal opinion. Exactly. No need to report just because you dislike. Melly, have you ever gone a case with this much fuckery and misinformation and corruption? No. We got you, Melly. Thank you. Oh, I love you guys. That is not a free pass. Melly, it's catching strays. It's done for literally using her freedom of speech. Oh my God, people are toxic. If you think Kenzie was overly charged and because no proof of intent, they are nasty. We love a come up baddie. You're a baddie. All right. So that was it. Those were created by me with the help of AI. I matched up like the legal parts of it because I ain't no lawyer. But all that information was pulled from the Mackenzie 2024 appeal and the juvenile transcripts that I just read. I will schedule members only, and then I will also make a schedule for the actual trial transcripts which might be like a heavy load. And if my guest comes up, be excited. Be so excited. It is someone tied to this case. So let's hope that works out. This is not abnormal. There's nothing abnormal about gas pedal being compressed the whole time. It's very common. Really, I can't believe. Actually, I can tell the world's gone nuts, Melly. You come stay with me. I'm waiting for someone to try me. Okay, I want to come stay with you. Leave me a room in your house. It bothers me when creators, I usually like repeat factually wrong info, don't bother to fact check. That leaves the public believing things aren't just true. It's lazy, irresponsible, in my opinion. I as well have screenshots. Bobby has receipts. See, people send me screenshots all the time. Oh, actually, wait, I can read you one, actually. I think I read this one to you earlier. Melly has flipped and now loves the Shirillas and believes the Russos paid off everyone to press murder charges and owns the judge. The officers in the car recorder is sus. Okay, I might have said the car recorder is sus. When did I say the Russos paid off everyone? No. Did I say I love the Shirillas? Someone says, yeah, she has. But she will say she just wants to see both sides. Okay, Monica Jean won. And then someone says, oh, geez, that snarky respectfully is another reason I don't like her. This is a type of shit. Anyways, okay, I'm done. Thank you for being here. Not me knowing the comments, LMAO, I know. They could never make me hate you. Thank you. Hi, Cynthia Nicole, babe. Yes, we are friends. All the breadcrumbs, and I still don't have one single piece of toast. Just tell us. Oh, yeah, my guest. We stand you, Melly. Do the kiddos still say that? Bahaha. I don't think so. I think there's another word for it, but unreal. Yeah. Unreal is right, Dr. Vana. Thank you for being here. Thanks to all the donuts. Belinda, Super Sticker, Sarah, Boo Boo, Patty. I promise you guys I'll give you a members only tomorrow. Yeah, possibly tomorrow. I need to prep for the guests, but we'll see if that happens. Hi, it's Patty and Evie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Donuts. I meant like the donations. You go, girl. We love you. Love you too, Nisi. Thank you. I won't, but again, Melly knows my feelings. Team Shirilla, Team Truth. See you on the donuts, like Babelets. Actually, we started the Babelet term because of Kenzie and Dom. I know. They called each other that, and it just, while we were reading the text messages, it just stuck. Stuck? Thank you, my Debbie. Love you. All right. Shout out to all my mods. Shout out to all of you that came in support. I appreciate you guys very much. So, members only coming up, guests coming up, trial transcripts coming up, and we are going to be covering Lindsay Clancy updates in the trial as it goes. Love you, Jen. Go check out the playlist. We're going to be doing Courtney Clenny too in one of these days. So yeah, there's a playlist. Look all through it. I'm sure you'll find lots of stuff there. I appreciate you guys. RIP Dom and Davion. And sorry to anyone, and much love to anyone getting hate for being open-minded. I appreciate you guys all, and I'll catch you on the next one. Toodles.